All right, everybody. Welcome back to Watch the Obsession live stream and chat. And this evening, we are going to be talking about the Menendez brothers and the Menendez case. So, little trivia item for you. Okay, which came first, the Menendez trial or the O.J. Simpson trial? So, if you're in chat right now, just pop your answer in chat. Which came first, the Menendez trial or the O.J. Simpson trial? And Sherry, my gosh, thank you so much for the $20 super chat, girl. You are so amazing. Thank you so much for all of your support. I just can't thank you enough. I want to give you a hug and take you out to lunch. Let's do it. Thank you, Sherry. So, which came first? Was it the Menendez trial or the O.J. Simpson trial? And again, we're going to start off with a bang here. So, there is a trigger warning for this entire live stream. There is going to be very graphic content about abuse, about the alleged abuse of particularly Erik Menendez by his father, Joseph, who was a record producer back in the 80s. And we're going to get into that more, but I just want to make sure that I put that trigger warning out there. So which came first, the OJ trial or the Menendez trial? Dun, do, 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 do. So sad that Alex Trebek died, right? He was a great guy. So it was the Menendez trial. I think we think about the OJ trial as being the first trial that really started the trend of watching trials on TV, the whole court TV trend, right? But the Menendez trial took place in 1993. And I very specifically remember when the O.J. Simpson verdict came out. Oh, was I a junior or senior in high school? So it was either 96 or 97. Because I was in Spanish class. I remember this. Somebody came on over the loudspeaker and was like, the OJ verdict is out. The OJ verdict is out. And you wonder why I'm a true crime fanatic, right? And I was so super passionate about he is guilty. I watched every second of the trial. And when they said not guilty, I put my head down and started sobbing. It was like, I don't think anyone else in high school reacted like that, but I did. Yeah, so let's see. Hey, Linda, so glad you're here. Thank you so much for the super thanks. I saw that on the NK video. That was so generous of you. Thank you so very much. I really appreciate it. I'm so glad you found the channel. I think we're a good fit here. So Linda says, watch the Netflix documentary in Crime Weekly 5 Part 1. Netflix isn't always really reliable just for views. Yeah, I do agree on that. And I was actually just watching a review of the Netflix documentary and all the discrepancies between real life and the actual documentary. I haven't seen it yet. Yeah, Pussycat says we all know OJ did it. Yeah, seriously. Oh my God, I was horrified. I was picked on for a very long time about my reaction, but I mean, it just was completely authentic. There was no way in hell I thought he was going to be guilty. And we're going to be hearing from one of O.J. Simpson's attorneys, Mark Garagos, who is now the attorney for the Menendez brothers. So we're going to hear him speak. But before we do that, I just want to bring in a little clip of a very emotional part of the Menendez trial. And this is just when Erik Menendez, he's a younger brother. He was the one who is mostly abused by his father, allegedly, Joseph Menendez. The Menendez brothers have been in prison for 35 years for the murders of their parents, Joseph and Kitty Menendez. They admit they killed them. The issue is the issue of the horrible abuse that supposedly they suffered from their father, Joseph. So this is just a couple minutes into his testimony. It starts with a bang too. And the attorney is talking about, is saying, is talking about the psychiatrist he's seeing in jail, talking about medication he's on, and it's Klonopin. He's not taking it right now, and he's kind of a basket case. He's been given Klonopin to calm his nerves because he's, he killed his parents, and he's allegedly been abused much of his life, and apparently severely, and just abused in the not S sense. Thank you, YouTube, for allowing me to talk like an adult. By his father and some other weird things that they talk about going on. So the attorney's talking about, when did you find out, did you know that your brother Lyle was in Israel? Yes, I did. How'd you find that out? I found that out from a friend of his. And now they are going to talk about him talking to Lyle and what caused, just listen to what he has to say. Okay, again, we've got a trigger warning on this one for sure. Welcome, everybody. So glad you're here. Sorry I didn't say hello to everybody individually. I'm so glad that you guys are here. And, oh, let's see. Hold it. Let me bring this into the stream. And then, let's see. Here we go. So this is Erik Menendez.
And did you know your brother was charged?
Okay. 2 years younger than Lyle. Lyle was born in, well, his name is Joseph Lyle. He goes by Lyle. 1970. And I'm sorry, 68. And Erik here was born in 1970. All right. Ooh. Okay. Let's see. I've got another starred comment. Honeybun gifted 1 WotC Obsession membership. Thank you so much, Honeybun. I just love you. Thank you for being here, for all that you do, and for all of those memberships that you've given to people. You are awesome. So everybody, do me a favor. We've got just a little group here. Please click like, and if you can, share the link to the stream so more people get the notification and can join us. And it's going to be a very interesting conversation, I promise you. All right, here we go. Here's Erik.
Or being charged or held on a murder charge?
Well, I assumed. I mean, I knew it was for the killing of my parents,
So you knew the charge would be murder?
Yes.
Did you learn before you left Israel that allegations had been filed against your brother of special circumstances that made it a potential death penalty case?
Yes. No, I'm not sure I knew that before I left Israel, but I knew that in London.
You knew at least that was the potential charges?
Oh, yes. Yes, I knew that.
And how soon after hearing that your brother was arrested did you decide to leave Israel and come back to the United States?
Immediately.
Oh my gosh. Hold on. So sorry, guys. Okay, sorry. I thought the problem was fixed. I made it through 2 whole live streams without that happening, but apparently it's not. Okay, here we go. Bring it back.
Do you expect that when you came back, you would also be arrested?
Yes.
Oh, great. Now, where's my volume? Volume turn up. Okay.
Did you understand there was a warrant out for your arrest?
Yes, I did.
Here I'm talking now. Oh my Lord. Here, let me pull it up in another window. Just 1 second. So I hope everyone's having a great week. And those of you who celebrate Thanksgiving, that you're looking forward to an awesome Thanksgiving. Gosh, that came up like super quick. I am going with my son to have Thanksgiving with my mom and my stepdad and one of his daughters, and then her 2 daughters who are like 21 and 22, and her daughter's new boyfriend, who's like this super Italian dude. I can't tell you what his last name is. They call him Sepp. But I haven't met him yet, and there's lots of stories about him. So I am very, very interested to meet him, because if he is not approved by Auntie Kelly, everyone's in trouble. All right. Let's see. Why is there no volume now? Ay, 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 ay. Can you guys hear me? Hey, Clark, how's it going? Da, 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 da. Alrighty. Yeah, you can hear me? Okay. I wonder why is this not playing that? Let me try another one. Why? What? Man. Oh, no, that can't be it either. This is insane. I just can't even. Mm-hmm. Bring it back in.
Running away.
No.
Did you consider hiding?
Oh, I don't know what to do. There is no volume. This is so freaking crazy. Why does this happen on StreamYard? Mm. There we go. Dang. Okay, great way to start a live stream. Jeez, Okay, so hey, for the replay, I am going to be editing that beginning part out, so there is not going to be the live stream and chat playing in the replay because I just don't even know what happened, and people don't all need to see that. Okay, so let me bring that back into the stream. It's the weirdest freaking thing. Okay, and this is supposed to be dramatic, guys. It's ruining my dramatic effect here. Okay.
No.
Did you consider fighting extradition from either Israel or England?
No, I didn't want to fight extradition
Why?
because I wanted to be back with my brother.
Why? Mr. Menendez, you've heard the testimony of your brother that you and he killed your parents on August 20th, 1989. Did you not?
Yes, we did.
And what do you believe was the originating cause of you and your brother ultimately winding up shooting your parents?
Me telling.
You telling what?
Me telling Lyle that
You telling Lyle what? Was it you telling Lyle about something that was happening?
my dad.
Okay.
My dad.
Your Honor, can I ask a leading question?
If you don't ask my dad.
Just wait 1 second, Mr. Menendez. Okay, let me ask.
No, he was in the process of answering, so there's no need to ask him.
Can you answer the question?
Yes.
Okay, was you telling Lyle what?
My dad had been molesting me.
And Did you want something from your brother? Is that why you told him?
I wanted to stop.
Were you seeking help from your brother?
Yes.
And when you were in Israel in 1990, did you feel that seeking help from your brother was why your brother was in jail?
Yes.
I don't know, guys. So, over the years, I have thought different things about their testimony about the abuse, but what I wanted to play this right off the bat because I feel like when you're watching Erik Menendez testify here to the abuse and him telling his brother about the abuse, like I don't know. As a behavioral therapist, I really truly do not know if you can fake emotion like that. I mean, like, can't you like this is my perception of it. Just the raw injury of the emotion that he's experiencing and the trauma is just like so on the surface of every square millimeter of him right now. And I mean, the conclusion that I've come to is I simply do not think that you can fake that. What do you guys think?
In the summer of 1989, Mr. Menendez, did you live with your parents, Jose and Mary Louise Menendez?
Yes, I did.
And how old were you?
I was 18 years old.
And had you always lived with your parents your whole life?
Yes.
You had never been sent away to school, boarding school, or anything like that?
No.
Had you on a couple of occasions gone away to camp for a week at a time?
Yes.
Other than that, did you always live with your folks?
Yes, I did.
And in fact, as of that summer of 1989, had you taken all of your vacations with your parents?
Yes.
Had you ever...
Okay, I'm going to stop this right here. We're going to go back to his testimony and like just the most shocking parts of his testimony. But before we talk about anything else, I just want to play that one little clip when he's starting to, for the first time in this trial, remember him telling his brother about the abuse, therefore remembering the abuse and just the raw emotion through which he expresses that memory. And again, it looks like all of you who chimed in agree with me that I've never that I know of seen anybody fake emotion like that. I mean, it's just so raw. Like Honey Bun said, he is just absolutely broken in that moment. So, all right. So now we're going to take a look at what the new evidence is that was not heard or admitted into evidence in the trial because, well, it just wasn't at that time. And we're going to hear about that. So we're going to hear Mark Garagos speak on that. And again, he is the attorney currently for the Menendez brothers, and he was also on O.J. Simpson's Dream Team. All right, switching this out. Dun, 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 dun.
Menendez brothers say new evidence shows that their convictions and life sentences should be overturned.
Now, during their trial, the brothers never denied killing Kitty and Jose Menendez. Instead, their attorneys argued they acted in self-defense after a lifetime of abuse at the hands of their father.
What is the new evidence? It is a letter sent by Erik Menendez to his cousin, Andy Cano, 8 months before the murder. So that would have been back in December of 1988. In that letter, it detailed his father's abuse. The letter was discovered allegedly or apparently several years ago by a family member and was never presented in court.
Now, in it,
you see that attorney, I'm sorry, totally off topic, but you see that attorney's hair and right before Erik Menendez, there was this detective that testified. I'll just have to show you a shot of him so you can see the 1993 look. My son just walked in and I was like, and this, my child, is 1993. He's like, oh my God.
It's still happening, Andy, but it's worse for me now. I never know when it's going to happen, and it's driving me crazy. Every night, I stay up thinking he might come in. I need to put it out of my mind.
Also included in the petition, a signed affidavit by Roy Rosello, a former member of the boy band Menudo. He claims that he too was raped by Jose Menendez, who at the time was an executive with RCA Records.
Okay, so in the habeas corpus petition, the judge was reviewing currently to see if, this evidence should have been allowed in, if that would ultimately set the Menendez brothers free at this time after 35 years of imprisonment for these crimes, the murders of Jose and Kitty Menendez, their parents. Two major pieces of evidence. Number one, that letter that was just read from Erik Menendez to his cousin 8 months before they murdered their parents, talking about the abuse and how fearful he was of his father and him coming in, and he never knew it was going to happen. And other people are going to talk about knowing, that weird things were going on. Like when they're going to talk about it here, so I'm not going to repeat it. But then also this person here was I don't know his name, was a member of the band Menudo. Do you remember that band? So 80s, 90s. And he also says that the father, Jose Menendez, also abused him because Jose Menendez, again, was a big record producer or executive. I'm sorry, record executive.
Joining us now, criminal defense attorney representing the Menendez brothers, Mark Garagos. Mark, great to always have you on our show, but in particular to talk about this case, because I have to tell you, I've told Michael, I was captivated by this case, by this trial, by these boys, by their allegations, all of it. And I remember watching it at the time and thinking, I just don't know that I believe what happened to them or what they say happened to them. But yet now you have this letter, pretty great evidence, I would say.
Well, and thank you. Always enjoy seeing you as well. The evidence, I think, is not only compelling, it's horrifying. And when you combine it with the declaration by the young man who was then a young man at Menudo, anybody who had any doubts, I think has been disabused. Then combine this, because I don't think people quite understand this, and maybe until I dug into it, I admit to being in the same position. But what happened between the first trial and the second trial is the first trial, all of this evidence was allowed in, not the letter, obviously, that came after the fact a couple of years ago, as you mentioned, but there was a hung jury. Half of the jury found that they would have been not guilty of the murder. They weren't going to get acquitted. It was just that they would have had something that eliminated malice and imperfect self-defense, which would have given you a manslaughter. Before the second trial, and what happened in the interim was the acquittal of O.J. Simpson, the judge in this case, same trial judge, reversed himself, and he actually invited the prosecution to reverse themselves, got into the second trial, did not give the imperfect self-defense, excluded much of the evidence of the abuse, and then probably the coup de grace really for them, engineering the guilty, was allowing the prosecutor to get up in closing and argue that it was an abuse excuse, that they had just made it up and that it wasn't true.
Okay, so what he's saying basically is it's the logistics of the way that the second trial went down and the way that it was chosen to be prosecuted that caused Erik and Lyle Menendez to be found guilty and therefore spend 35 years of their life in prison. He feels if, the same legal technicalities under which they were charged and prosecuted in the first trial were in place the second time around, that they would, it gets a little complicated there because obviously there's not double jeopardy, but he's saying that he thinks it's sort of a legal technical reason they were found guilty in the first place. And I do think that could possibly be correct. So, he's saying the prosecution in the closing argument said it's an abuse excuse, kind of like, who was it? Was it Darden who in the O.J. Simpson trial says, if the glove don't fit, you must acquit, putting out that little catchphrase to kind of stick in the jurors' minds. these attorneys are very freaking brilliant. They're smart, and they know, if they can, if they can come up with that catchphrase, like that little jingle for their case, that it's going to stick in the jury's mind, and they're going to have a hard time getting it out of their mind when they're deliberating. Pretty smart, but not necessarily what is going to render the proper verdict in a case.
That's, fast forward 33 years later from when this event took place, and almost 30 years since the trial, society's in a wholly different place. Jose Menendez, by all accounts, was a monster now. I mean, there's no other way to look at it.
One of the obstacles facing, I believe, this case is, I was working at Court TV.
I just want to stop there again, because he makes, such good points, but I think we should elaborate on them. Just imagine, though, if this trial, and again, we're going to watch some clips of it, like right after we review what's going on right now, went down in contemporary times and not in 1993, I think absolutely unequivocally, without a doubt, there would have been a different verdict in this case. Because starting with the Me Too movement, we now are able to, say that women are victims of abuse and harassment, like on a larger scale than before that. And shortly, but far too slowly after that. And now, with, as Linda said, like, hey, look at like P. Diddy. We also know that men are victims of the same kind of abuse. And that is now known across our society. It is accepted as a fact, as a hard fact, a hard to swallow fact. But nevertheless, it's not something that we can't talk about. And it's always shocking, but it's not as shocking as the Menendez brothers coming out and telling this in 1993, a very different time.
Back then, Mark, I don't know if you remember, me and my colleague Beth Karras covered some of that case. And this was the case, really. It wasn't OJ. People think OJ put Court TV on the map. It was this case. Everyone knew about the Menendez case. So my question to you is it going to be an obstacle for you, the fact that oftentimes to get this type of case open, to bring in this new evidence, it has to have not been discovered back then and should not have been discovered? Is that going to be an obstacle for you, for a court to say, you know what, okay, we see the evidence, but this is something that should have or could have been discovered back then?
Well, remember, this letter apparently went to Andy. Andy has passed away. It was in his effects. Nobody had discovered it until just a couple of years ago, number one. Number two, if you listen to you guys did an excellent setup package. The only thing, if I were producing this, one of the things I would have suggested is to have listened to the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals argument, because I've listened to the audio, and at least one of the judges in the Ninth Circuit understood what happened. Basically, to quote the judge from the Ninth Circuit, they ginned up rules and changed the rules so they could engineer a conviction the second time around. I mean, in fundamental fairness, this case should be looked at again from an equitable standpoint. And now, with this kind of devastating evidence, again, that shows clearly that there was this horrific abuse going on, I think cooler heads after 3 decades will prevail.
And, one of the other things is, and as a former judge, I always hate when there's any issue with the integrity of a judge on the bench, and to hear that basically they said, okay, we're not going to let you consider that. We're going to take that off the table, and really gerrymandering is what I would call it from the bench. But when you hear those kinds of things happening, it affects not just obviously your clients, but really our whole judicial system, because that's not the way it's supposed to work. So what do you envision? What do you hope for as an outcome? Because the reality is these two have been in jail for a very long time.
Well, remember, if they had been convicted of a manslaughter, they still would have done a substantial amount of time. I haven't taken a look at what a voluntary was with use back then, but I would imagine it would have long since been served. What I would hope is that, as I said, cooler heads prevail, and that we realize that these two men, because they're now have been in custody all of this time, would be given the chance to get out and to lead whatever semblance of a life they can lead at this point. Because 33 actual years for what I would submit if had been tried today. I've had cases in the last 5 years, actually last 8 years, in which the abuse the abuse paled in comparison to this, where jurors actually wanted to acquit. And so you have to wonder, has society come an incredible distance in 3 decades, almost 3.5 decades, to understand that these kinds of horrific things really do happen and take place.
And I do agree with you. In the last 30 plus years, there's a huge difference of the awareness and treatment of sexual abuse.
Yeah. You know what's interesting, Mark? When you talk about trying this case in 1998 and you talk about trying it now, one of the things that I think is a big difference is that a lot of people I talk to about this evidence say, well, it wouldn't help the self-defense claim because the abuse wasn't imminent. It wasn't happening. But what we know about this type of thing is the air of fear that this type of situation creates for young people. And I think that would be an area that maybe the prosecution would have to consider. Do you expect, if this is successful, that they might try this case again? Or
All right. So rather than talking about the legal mumbo jumbo, I'm going to bring an article into the stream that's answering some of the questions that you guys are answering in chat. I think it's a really good article, so I'm gonna swap that out instead. So let's take a look at that. And thanks, guys, for participating in chat. I've been really wanting to hear your opinions on this. I think this is just, such an important case because it's so important that we protect victims of this kind of abuse. Like, yes, of course, you shouldn't go murder your abuser, right? Period. Full stop. At the same time, every abuse situation is different. And, the effects of the trauma that result in a human being and the way that resonates through every aspect and expression of who they are is very, very real. And we have to acknowledge that. All right, so I'm just going to make that a little bigger. Did I bring that in yet? Okay. There's not much to look at here, but I'm going to read it. Because you know how much I love reading articles. But this one I made sure doesn't have a bunch of crazy advertisements on it. So, why the Menendez brothers' allegations of abuse are being taken seriously more than 3 decades after they killed their parents. So there's a picture of them at trial with their attorneys. All right. The caption says, Lyle Menendez, second from the left, and his brother Erik, second from the right, are flanked by their attorneys, Beverly Hills Municipal Court, 1 year after they shot their parents. A Northeastern University professor says that the case of Lyle and Erik Menendez, who are serving life imprisonment for shooting deaths of their wealthy parents in 1989, indicates a major societal shift in how male victims of childhood abuse are perceived and believed. Around the time that they were convicted of first-degree murder for killing Jose and Kitty Menendez, the young men were ridiculed in newspaper columns, talk shows, and even Saturday Night Live as being motivated by greed. But 20 years after their sentencing, family members are calling for the brothers' release, saying they were driven to desperation by longtime abuse at the hands of their father, a well-known executive in the entertainment industry. Carlos Cuevas, Northeastern professor of criminology and criminal justice, says in the decades since the Menendez sentencing, there has been growing recognition that childhood abuse affects boys as well as girls. We all know that now. Tens of thousands of victims. As time has gone by, there has been more openness talking about the abuse in general, and particularly abuse of boys. Just 1 minute. Hold it. I got a noisy bunny over here. Skylar, stop it. Stop it. Don't you know I'm on a live stream, Skylar? All right, sorry about that. You know me and my bunnies. Eyes also have been opened by investigations and lawsuits concerning the involvement of powerful institutions in covering up the abuse of boys and young men. And then they cite it. In recent years, the Catholic Church and the Boy Scouts of America, as we all know, have paid out billions of dollars to settle cases going back decades involving tens of thousands of victims abused as boys and young men by priests and scout leaders. The Catholic Church scandal probably brought it more to the forefront, Cuevas says, but it's really been sort of a gradual process beginning in the 1980s. And this guy is on, I think he's on, I'm not sure. The effects of childhood abuse. But in circumstances, it's still sort of minimized in a way. I don't think it's minimized when the victim is a girl or a woman, but it certainly can be, Cuevas says, adding that might be because of the greater number of girls and women affected by, well, we don't care why you think that is. I don't think that's necessarily the case. According to REAN, an organization for the advocates of victims, 1 in 9 girls and 1 in 20 boys under the age of 18 experiences this kind of abuse or assault. Horrible. Actually, statistics are much higher than that, the real ones. Whether the survivor is male or female, the repercussions of assault can be severe, including post-traumatic stress disorder, mood disorders, depression, anxiety, and substance abuse. Survivors may also struggle with dissociative disorders, self-harm, and panic attacks. The effects are typical of this kind of thing you see with individuals who are survivors of that kind of abuse. Extreme physical retaliation or murder is rare. Yeah, we know that. So going on, we're going to talk about this case. Victims and killers. Cuevas says what complicates the Menendez case in the popular imagination is the brothers' perpetuation of a heinous crime, gunning down their parents as the couple watched TV in their mansion's den. Quote, people have a tendency to label you. You're either a victim or a perpetrator, he says, adding that in reality, you can be both. A lot of people who commit offenses and crimes are also victims of abuse or other forms of victimization. It's really hard for people to understand the context around them. I don't care anymore about his commentary. So Lyle and Erik Menendez, who were 21 and 18 respectively at the time, may get a chance to tell their side of the story in court again since their case is being reviewed for possible resentencing. I want to get down to the details of the case. Okay, the evidence includes a letter purportedly written by Erik Menendez to his cousin Andy, referring to the abuse months before the murders occurred, as well as the allegations by a member of the boys band Menudo, as we talked about, Roy Rossello is his name, that was abused by Jose Menendez when he was 14. Man. During the brothers' first trials, one for each brother, their cousin Diane Vander Molen testified that when she was a teenager staying at the Menendez home, 8-year-old Lyle told her his father was molesting him. So, I mean, that's really important. And 8 years old. 8 years old. So if it is true that Jose Menendez was doing that to his sons from the time they were that little until, when they're 18, 21, when they finally murdered them, I mean, I think today that would hold up as a legitimate offense. What do you guys think? I mean, maybe. I think it'd have a good chance. Vander Molen, that's the girl cousin, testified that she told Kitty, but never heard what, if anything, became of the boys' disclosure. The trials ended in a hung jury. So that is part of, somebody asked that question. That is part, I think it was Jody, that is part of the Lyle and Eric's animosity towards the mother, is apparently it was abundantly clear that the mother was observing very obvious signs of the father abusing them in this way, and she did nothing. During the second trial, which ended with a life imprisonment sentence in 1996, the prosecution alleged the abuse didn't occur and the judge didn't allow much evidence of the molestation to be presented, according to the defense attorneys. Whoop. Even now, some people, including Kitty Menendez's brother, Milton Anderson, do not believe the brothers were molested or that they feared for their lives if they went public with the abuse allegations. As abuse and physical abuse are ways of controlling victims that can create lasting fear, especially if it starts when victims are young. A family member, this is important too, has said he witnessed Jose Menendez hitting the brothers with a belt, as well as other strange behavior. But even just the threat of violence can instill terror. This guy's commentary is horrible. Sorry. They also, people also said that when they were over at the house and Erik was in, a certain area of the house, and so was his father. They weren't even allowed to, it was like sectioned off. They were not allowed to go in that area of the house. Like, it was a standing rule because apparently, allegedly, according to the brothers, it's because the abuse was happening at any time, even when company was over. And there are a lot of people who visited the Menendez house who have testified to that or attested to that outside of the trial. Where was mom, Kitty Menendez? The Menendez case has been the subject of recent fictionalization series on Netflix, as we were talking about. One question viewers invariably ask is why the brothers' mother, Mary Louise Kitty Menendez, didn't intervene and stop the alleged abuse. And I don't care what that guy says. So apparently, according to people who know, she knew. So there we've got our P. Diddy. I don't even know what to call him. Disgusting. So then there is, of course, the important overarching, theme and just important ethical issue for us right now is, supporting those who report this kind of abuse. All right. And I think it's important that we highlight that. So that is why I wanted to read that article in particular. So I'm going to bring back in moments from the trial. And I'm going to catch some of your comments too. All righty. All right. So they weren't motivated by money. I could be wrong. I mean, that was the narrative. I don't think that they were. I mean, their father they were so wealthy. The death of their parents arguably would have caused them to be less wealthy than if their parents had lived and Jose Menendez had continued to earn. He was a big time record label executive and music executive, and he just banked, So, I never, I get it, but, when you look into the facts of that argument, I think you can take it down. Ruth Ann says, Jody, they did go on a spending spree. They were so young and probably felt free. Right. I don't know. I hate to doubt anyone if they were victims, especially when the kid from the boy band, Menudo, testified to being AR'd by Jose Menendez as well. And his story about that, I find to be completely credible. Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah. So, yeah, I think they did go on a spending spree, but yeah, they all of a sudden had all this money, that was theirs. It wasn't being monitored by anyone else or spent by anyone else. But, if you're looking, that money was going to be gone. They were 18 and 21. They were not even earners yet. They did not have any future earning potential. Their dad's future earning potential was like buco bucks, Physical and emotional abuse is not SA, says Kind Colorado. Oh, absolutely. I totally agree. I mean, there are specifics of this story that go into, that other kind of abuse. But, I'm just telling you what's out there. MM Clar says, if anyone wanted to be in a room with locked doors with my kids, they'd have been shown out the door. Oh, my God. No doubt. No doubt. Never. Linda says, this is horrible. Wanted to know an update on the brothers because I always thought they were telling the truth, but This is unbearable. Over 1/4 of the way through the podcast and no questions answered, whatever. Oh, you're talking about my podcast? What are your questions? What do you want to know? I mean, we're talking about the evolution of the case, what's going on now, and then looking back at the case. This is 35 years of history. I mean, what do you want? What do you want to target in on? Kind Colorado says the father was demanding for sure. He wanted his kids to be successful, and they turned into thieves. He bailed them out of bad situations time and time again. Yep, I've that's so the story goes. That is, that is a piece of it. Yes, you're right. Kind Colorado says, I don't believe the cousin's story. Well, that letter was found in the cousin's home. The cousin that Erik Menendez wrote that letter to is deceased. That letter was found in his home after he was deceased. But still, I guess it could still be fabricated, but it's not his story necessarily, but that's what happened. Hey, LJ, welcome. How are you doing? Kind Colorado says, I think the Menudo guy is also getting paid to make the same claims. Paid by who? Because, and I'm asking that totally respectfully, but these guys have no money now. I mean, like, who has money around here? Mark Garagos does, but I don't know. I don't know if he would do that. I mean, it's not like he needs this case for his reputation. He already has one of either the best or the most infamous, depending on your opinion of him, reputations in the legal world in contemporary times, period. He doesn't need this case for anything. He's not making money off of it. You know what I mean? So who would have paid him off would be my question. And maybe, but I just can't think of who would have paid him off. Ruth Ann says, I believe the kid from Menudo. I also don't think the testimony was fake. It was gut-wrenching. Absolutely. Well, on that, let's go back to Erik Menendez's testimony.
Been an exchange student or studied away from the city in which they lived?
No.
During the years 1986, 1987, 1988, were you aware of the fact that your mother was in a noticeable emotional state a lot?
Yes.
Were you aware of the fact that your mother took medication?
Overruled as to that question.
Yeah, I knew she took medication.
Did you see her doing that?
Yes.
What was the form of the medication that she took? Was it a liquid? Was it pills?
It was pills.
During the summer of 1989, did that change?
Yes.
Did you see your mother taking her medication during that summer, or did you notice that she wasn't?
No, she had stopped taking it.
And had, at the same time that you realized she had stopped taking the medication, did you see any increase in her very emotional states?
Yes.
Mr. Menendez, during the summer of 1989, were you being sexually molested by your father?
Yes.
And when did that begin? How old were you?
Oh
I
my
was 6 years
God.
old.
Now, you have seen
We've seen a series of photographs that we put up on the board some weeks ago. Series is 223.
Kind Colorado, that's funny because Kind Colorado's comments here are push those tears out, boy, and he's a bad actor. So that's your perception of it. And I totally respect that. My perception of my observation of him is completely fucking authentic and credible. Like, that's how it's coming across to me. And it's not that either of us is right or wrong. It's just this is a perfect example of, the differences in perception that people have when they're looking at the same thing. We're talking about true crime, and it gets so polarizing. People have so much passion about it. You know what I mean? I love Kind Colorado, but in this particular situation, I am seeing something totally different. For example, and I'm sure some of you are seeing it the way I am. Some of you are seeing the way Kind Colorado is, and everything in between, right? So I just want to point that out.
Once you look through those and tell me if you remember seeing those when they were last put up in this trial.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes. Except,
Are those pictures of your 6th birthday party?
yes.
Other scenes of that day?
Yes.
Now, do you know, can you remember whether or not the molestation began before or after your 6th birthday party?
I was right around then. I believe it was just after.
Excuse me?
I believe it was just after.
After.
Mhm.
And where were you living at the time?
Muncie.
You've seen the
So again,
shot
for those of
tape.
you who didn't hear it or or missed it, his testimony is that type of abuse began when he was 6 years old. 6 years old.
Were you used to identify the houses?
Yes.
You recognize the Muncie house from that chart?
Yes.
And was that house in quite a wooded area?
Yes, it was.
Can you say, Mr. Menendez, that you actually remember your 6th birthday party?
No.
You don't?
I remember a birthday party, but I mean,
But you don't know if you remember that one?
no.
Moving forward through some of the silence here.
They're stuck with why you've been in jail.
Yes.
How long, from the time you were 6, when you say your father started to molest you, how long did that go on?
12 years.
And were there episodes of sexual activity with your father over that last summer?
Yes.
Over the course of the 12 years, did the type of sexual activity that your father engaged in with you vary and change?
Yes.
Were there patterns to the
Trigger
behavior
warning.
so that there were
Trigger
actually
warning.
different kinds of sexual incidents with your father?
Overall.
Yes.
And did you come over the years to give those different kinds of sexual incidents names?
Yes.
And would you tell us what were the names that you gave to those different types of incidents?
Knees.
Knees,
Knees.
Knees.
Yes.
That was one type.
Yes.
What was another type?
Nice sex. Nice sex.
Nice sex. What
Yeah.
was another kind?
Rough sex.
Rough sex. And was there another kind still?
Yes.
And what name did you come to give that kind?
Just sex.
You called that sex.
Yes.
And was that you called sex some form of intercourse?
Yes.
When before your father died was the last incident of what you called sex?
In May
Of what year?
1989.
And when before your father died was the last incident of knees?
In August
Of what year?
1989.
And that last incident of knees,
Do you get it? What he's talking about there when he's talking about the different kinds of abuse he suffered? He's calling it sex, but it's abuse he suffered when they say knees. Do you guys get that? Just wondering.
took place in what location?
My bedroom.
The bedroom that Detective Zoller was just identifying photographs of?
Yes.
Over the course of those 12 years between age 6 and age 18, where did most of the sexual incidents with your father take place?
In my bedroom.
Starting at which house?
In Muncie.
And did episodes of sexual activity between yourself and your father also take place in the next house you lived in on Mill Road?
Yes.
And did similar incidents occur when you lived in the house in Pennington on Lakeshore Drive?
Yes.
And were there incidents in the fancy house on Mountain Avenue in Princeton?
Yes.
And were there incidents in the rented house in Calabasas?
Yes.
And were there incidents
Whoa, 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 Ashley. Welcome. It's always good to see you. I am so sorry. I'm sorry. I just couldn't I don't know if you want that pinned, but I just couldn't let that pass. Ashley, I am so very sorry. I'm just so glad that you're here, and it's always a pleasure to see you. And I just don't even know what else to say, but I just wanted to acknowledge that and say that I am seriously so sorry. And if you need anything that I can do, that we can do, please let me know. Just if you need anything or want to talk or anything, just please email me, and I will be checking to see if I get your email. I'm so very sorry, and I hope that you have like a ton of support around you. I'm really, my heart goes out to you.
the big mansion in Beverly Hills?
Yes.
Can you just put this other picture? I'm just going to show it to you. This is the naked picture of you that you were testifying about.
Yes.
Does it embarrass you, this picture?
Yes.
What exhibit number was that?
Your Honor, that one is 232. The summer of 1989, Mr. Menendez, what did you do for the bulk of that summer?
I played tennis.
You played tennis.
Yes.
Did you play tennis at home or were you traveling?
I was traveling.
And you were traveling to what?
Tennis tournaments.
And were these tennis tournaments in different places?
Yeah, they were in San Francisco. They were in Kentucky and Michigan.
And
So he goes on here to talk about when he's away, at his tennis tournaments and things. Well, I get maybe we should hear this. Let me just go forward a little bit. It gets a little dry. He's talking about being away at his tennis tournaments.
Tournament were those 128 already ranked based on their previous tennis play?
He's talking about the tennis tournaments and how much pressure his parents put on him to excel in all these various ways. And according to all accounts of people around them, even in their family, friends around them, friends of the boys, friends of the parents, that is true about their parents. They were like the super high pressure parents. Now, the point that they were making earlier about Kitty Menendez and that she'd been on medication, that she stopped taking the medication. She wanted to stop taking the medication, was her choice, but she really needed it when she was dependent on it, even though it was, prescribed. I think it was anti-anxiety medication. That same summer of the murders, when she came off of that medication, it was like, it just added another extremely stressful, anxiety-ridden, just hard to live with aspect to their lives. All this is already going on. The mother decides she's going to stop taking her antidepressants and anti-anxiety medication. Woo! I've talked about before stopping to take those medications. And it ain't a party. It ain't a party. And that's like a massive understatement.
Yes.
And do you know what you were ranked going into Kalamazoo? And the car going from where to where?
From the tennis court to my hotel.
And did you find that, what was your reaction to his getting so angry he couldn't even yell at you?
I was scared. I didn't know what he was going to do. I'd never seen that
He
happen
lost a tennis match
before.
I can't hear you.
I didn't know what he was going to do. I'd never seen that happen before. And what he was saying scared me.
What did he say that scared you?
He said that he was yelling and telling me how awful I'd played and telling me that everything that I'd ever played for came down to this one tournament, which I failed, and that everything I had ever played in any match I'd ever practiced for was meaningless now because this was the tournament. This was the tournament. And it was my last junior national tournament. And he was telling me that I failed. And
now, what he's saying here, according to people that knew Jose Menendez, is consistent with Jose Menendez's personality, and that might impart that part of his personality, even though it sounds kind of horrible, not as horrible as the other things he's talking about, but it might be one reason he is a very successful music executive, and that he finds, he hones, and he successfully produces immense talent because he has those expectations of people and he holds them to them in a way where they can't really wiggle out of it, or it's going to be scary and uncomfortable. He's like one of those people, like really powerful, really imposing. You listen to him, you don't question it. He has very clear expectations. They're high and you better meet him or move to the other state, people across the board, from what I know, have said that is who he was.
And to the point where he could no longer speak.
So that's what he said before he could no longer speak.
Yeah.
And did you think that there would be serious consequences to his anger?
Yes.
Did you know what they would be?
No.
Now, before this loss and his anger, was there a plan for you and your mother and your father to go somewhere from Kalamazoo together?
Yes.
And where were you all supposed to go?
We were supposed to go up to Canada to see my grandfather.
And that's your mother's?
My mom's father.
Was he ill?
He was dying of cancer.
And from what you could observe and what you heard, was your mother anxious to go see her dying father?
Yes.
And after you lost at Kalamazoo, was there some change in that plan?
Yes.
And what was the change?
My dad said that he and I were not going to Canada and that we were going back to California.
And how did your mother react to that?
Well, he told my mom that if she wanted to go, she'd go alone, and that I and he were going back to California, and there were no argument about it, no questions about it.
Now, your mother declined to go to Canada by herself, is that right?
Yeah, she said that she wasn't going to go if my dad wasn't going to go.
And therefore, were plane tickets for Los Angeles purchased for the three of you?
I assume.
Did you all three return to Los Angeles on August 9th via United Airlines?
Yeah, I believe that was the date.
And when you got back to Los Angeles on that day, did you see your brother Lyle?
Yes.
And to the best of your knowledge, had he been in Los Angeles some time before you got back?
Yes.
Now, did you have some hope or dream or expectation over that summer of 1989 for some improvement in your life?
I had it for a lot longer than that.
But you had it that summer as well?
Yes.
And
Now, this is important here. Now, I just want to bring up what Kind Colorado is saying here. And, so we've all agreed here that there's differences of opinions, and that's cool. We can have a good discussion about it. So, let's see. Where is your comment? I think I pinned it. Where to go? Well, I have one that you wrote before this, but this is just the first one that my eyes laid on, Kind Colorado. So now this is one thing I do feel strongly about. And I just want to tell you my perspective on it. So anyway, I kind of already touched on it though, but Kind Colorado says if they were truly molested, they could have reported. They are similar age to me, and we knew about reporting at that time. It's not like ancient history. You reported the abuses that we were talking about. Listen, this is my opinion on it. So this was happening in the late 80s. I mean, in the 80s. I think for young men to report that their powerful father, their extremely powerful, influential father is abusing them, let alone abusing them. Say if that is or isn't the case. I don't know. I'm just saying. I don't think that many young boys or young men would have ever done that. I do not think in the 1980s, this is just my opinion. I think it was very difficult for girls or young women to report on their abuse or their abuse. Like absolutely. It was still very, it was still very hidden away. It was still very hush hush. You shouldn't talk about that, like look the other way, tuck it under the rug, right? Put it in somewhere, but not out in the open. And I think for a boy or a young man to report that about himself, there would have been such immense shame and embarrassment and humiliation and feeling of failure. And, the jokes about, being, homo, although being gay or bi, none of that is bad at all. But we're talking about the 1980s, and we're talking about the frame of mind of teenage boys. I see almost zero chance that they would have reported to anybody what was happening to them. But again, that's just my opinion. But considering I do feel strongly about that one though. But it is my opinion only. And then another comment, something else you and Ruth Ann were talking about. I just want to talk about with everybody. And thank you guys for being respectful. I appreciate it. Let's see. Sorry, I'm just Kind Colorado. I'm looking for your name here. I guess I didn't start. I meant to. Dang. Yeah, I mean, the murders were horrible. I mean, they shot them in the head while they were watching TV. It was real bad. I mean, there was, there's really not justification for doing that to a person. There's just not. Okay, so now Kind Colorado says, they knew Jose, the father, was going to take them out of the will because Lyle's failing at Princeton and the thefts. Now, this is true. Lyle was failing at Princeton. Princeton's an amazing college. It's an Ivy League school. It actually is the first college I visited. When I visited college, my uncle wanted me to visit there, and I applied and got on a waiting list, never got in. And it's an amazing place, but that's besides the point. He was failing out of Princeton. You know, again, it is a very rigorous school. It's an Ivy League school. It's one of the best of the best. As you know, Kai Colorado and I both agree on, we were both saying in different ways, Jose Menendez was a very strict, powerful person with high standards. Kai Colorado said he was a taskmaster. I think it's a great way to put it. You know, that was simply not acceptable. See, you know, think about how, you know, Erik is saying, whether it's exactly true or not, that he was reacting to him losing a tennis match. Imagine one of his sons failing out of, you know, an Ivy League school that I'm sure he told everybody he was very proud to be sending him to, and he's shelling out hundreds of thousands of dollars for him to go there, right? So that did happen. They were getting in trouble. He was stealing. Yes, that is all very true. You know, apparently there was, yes, talk from the father, Jose Menendez, of him taking the boys out, or, you know, the boys, both of them at times, and at times just Lyle, out of his will. Yes, that's absolutely true. But was he really going to do that? Did they think he really was going to do that? Or was that just, you know, a strategy of his to get his sons to straighten out, particularly Lyle? We don't know. If he did take the boys out of his will, who would he have left his wealth to? You know, and also somebody like him, you know, having immigrated from Mexico, being a very, I don't know, I just see him as being a very family-oriented person. I don't think that he would have, assigned his life, his, lifetime accumulation of wealth to somebody outside of his family. So I think even, especially in their young, cocky minds, I sort of think they would have just thought that was all bluster, but I do not know for sure. That's, again, just my opinion. Ruth Ann says, Kind Colorado, just so happens Kind Colorado is representing the opposite of you, kind of what I'm saying. So that's why, it's all Kind Colorado. We love her. Both can be true. Maybe they were going to be taken out of the will, but they also could have been abused. Absolutely. Yes. I think that's an extremely fair and logical point. So I just wanted to bring the part of the conversation to light.
First of all, what was it that you wanted to improve in your life?
I wanted to end the sex with my dad.
And did you have some expectation of how that was going to happen?
Yes.
And what did you expect?
I was going to go to college.
And how was that going to end the sex with your dad?
I was going to get away from him. And I knew I wasn't going to sleep at the house anymore.
Now, what college were you expecting to go to?
At that time, UCLA.
And where were you expecting to live when you went to UCLA?
On campus.
In
the dorm.
Just a regular, ordinary dorm?
Yeah.
Now, had you wanted to go farther away to college?
Yes.
Where had you wanted to go originally?
I wanted to go to Brown.
And where is Brown?
In Rhode Island.
Did you have any friends going to Brown?
Yeah. Andy.
Jody, the boys were 18 and 19 years old. Okay. So just for context, they lived in California. So he's saying, now Lyle Menendez, okay, if he got into Princeton, he could have gone to almost any college he wanted to in the entire United States and certainly abroad. Okay. So he flew all the way across the country to go to Princeton. That tells you something, in my opinion. Perhaps it does. Now, Erik is saying he had intentions of going to Brown. Brown is all the way across the country, even further in Massachusetts. He literally wanted to go to college as far as he possibly could, unless you went into the far-reaching, regions of North Maine in the United States from where he was at that time. Does that mean he wanted to get as far the fuck away as he could from Jose Menendez? Some people believe so. It could be interpreted that way. I don't know. I think a case could be made for that. If this is true, I think psychologically that is what happened, but we do not know for certain that's true. I am just trying to present the whole story here in all of its context.
Pierce was going to Brown, and we had made plans before to go to Brown together.
You and Andy Pierce?
Mm-hmm.
Is that yes?
Yes.
And did you apply to Brown?
Yes, I did.
Did you apply to a lot of schools?
Yeah, I applied to something like 13 or 15 schools.
And were you, did you go to Brown for an interview?
Yes.
And did you have contact with the tennis coach at Brown?
Yes.
Was it what role, if any, did you think tennis might play in your being accepted at Brown?
I thought I wasn't going to get into the college without tennis.
What does that mean?
Well, the Ivy Leagues don't have scholarships like UCLA does and the state schools, so you can't.
Really quick, Ashley, they admit to unaliving their parents, but he's telling the story right now on the stand. This is Erik Menendez. He's the younger of the two brothers. There's Lyle and Eric. They're 2 years apart. The murders happened when they were 18 and 20 years old, respectively. And they are talking about living with horrific abuse and abuse that was happening to them. As far as I know, Lyle's earliest report is at the age of 8, and Eric is saying that it started happening at the age of 6. Of course, this is all allegedly. There is new evidence that was not allowed in the second trial. At least these two brothers were tried in separate trials. The second trial judge did not, and this is just a fact, did not, maybe he was right to do it or maybe he was wrong, I don't know, did not allow in most of the molestation evidence. But there is new, we're calling it evidence out there that was not brought into that trial that does support the fact that yes, they were molested. I personally think that they were. Watch, well, not the very beginning of this live stream, because I had like some volume weird thing happen about 10 minutes in when I first show Erik Menendez in the beginning of his testimony and these sheer emotion, Ashley, and let us know what you think, because I personally think it's compelling.
And they can't just get you in if you don't have the grade point average. And so I had to have a minimal grade point average to get into the school. And, but if you have the minimal grade point average, you don't usually get into the school. So I had to have the coach's help, and he was going to get me into the school as long as I had that grade point average.
In other words, if you had just been applying as, someone who was totally non-athletic, the minimal grade point average would not get you in as compared to the other candidates for entry. Is that what you're saying?
No, the minimal grade point
Yes.
average, yes.
Okay. So you thought you needed to trade on your tennis skills to get into Brown.
Oh, well, I knew that.
And was there a point when the next step, if you were actually going to try to get accepted by Brown, the next step would have been taken when someone vetoed your plan to go to Brown? Someone said you couldn't go?
Oh, my dad said I couldn't go.
And that was after you had already applied and already started the process?
Yeah, well, it was after the coach called me and told me that he needed to confirm that if I got in, I would go. Because apparently they can get 2 players in or something like that, each coach of every sport, as long as they have the minimal grade point average. And he said, if I get you in, you got to promise me you'll go. And that's when I had to talk it over with my dad.
And he said that.
He said, no.
Was there also some discussion in the family, which included your mother, about your going to the University of California at Berkeley?
Yes.
Had you been accepted by the University of California?
Amazingly so, yes.
More than one campus accepted you?
All the UC campuses accepted me.
And do you think tennis had anything to do with that?
I don't know, and that's what I'm amazed about, because I never talked to the coaches, and I didn't have the grade point average to get into them. I just assumed it was because I put down a Spanish name or something.
Well, have you seen any of the applications that your mother made out for you for college?
Yes.
Did she identify you as Hispanic on those applications?
Yes.
And indeed, you are in part, are you not?
Yes.
So was there conversation about you perhaps going to Berkeley?
My mom wanted me to go to Berkeley.
And did you have some sense of why your mom wanted you to go to Berkeley?
Yeah.
What was that?
She didn't want me around the house. She wanted me to go to far away to Berkeley. She wanted me to go to Brown. But then once my dad said no, she wanted me to go to Berkeley.
Were you aware of the fact that your mother had some dreams that when you were gone to college, she could stay with your father all the time, travel with him all the time, never leave his side? Did you hear that sort of thing?
Yes.
All right, objection sustained as to the form of the question, calling for speculation, also leading and suggestive.
Did you hear your mother talking about what her expectations were after you went off to college?
Yeah, she was excited to get Lyle and I off to college and away from the house so that she could take trips with Dad and she wouldn't have to she didn't want Dad to go on business trips alone. And so she would be able to go with Dad to business trips and she'd just be able to have the house to herself.
Now wait, here's another comment. And kind color, I'm not picking on you. I just think that like I think I usually agree with you on just about everything. So I think it's very interesting. We have very different perspectives here, but I think you're making very consistent, good points, but but I'm not agreeing with them this time, but I totally respect them. And I think it makes an interesting conversation again, like I said before. So again, our girl says, so it sounds like most in this group feel that SA is just cause for cold-blooded murder. Shaking my head. Now, I certainly don't think anything is just cause for cold-blooded murder. And, the details of the crime, appear to be cold-blooded, right? So there's that. And I don't want to say but because there's no but to that. So that's like a full stop. In this reality where things are complicated and not always linear and congruent, there also is this fact that the resulting trauma of, let's just, and I'm not saying that it did happen to them or they're lying, or, but just for argument's sake, saying that they did, or anybody who is, our word, starting at the age of 6 years old, consistently and on the command of their abuser for 12 years, their entire childhood after 6 years old, as they're growing up through their teen years. If that were to happen to a person, the resulting trauma that person would have to live with and that would infect every aspect of their personality and their lives and their environment and their radiating outward for I don't know how far, would be just so immense. And at that age, at the age of 18 or 20, when the frontal lobe of their brains is still not fully developed, because the brains do not fully mature until we are, depending on if you're a guy or a girl and some other personal factors, 23, 24, 25, 26 years old. Living with that trauma, if that were true, is intense. It's unthinkable. It's unimaginable. It is one of the most horrific things you can do to a young person. And my stance always is, in any matter of crime, true crime, trials, whatever it is, my first priority is that we as adults do whatever they need to do to protect the most vulnerable among us, whether that's children, the elderly, the sick, people with whatever the case may be. And that always, just in like my hierarchy or my sense of justice, that is always the number one priority. That is my number one moral, ethical perspective on all complicated criminal situations or human situations that end up in crisis and tragedy, like I believe this family did, just like I believe the Watts family did. This is in a very different way, of course, but the similarity is These are two families that ended up in a state of crisis, and it was progressive and very different details. But I think it's always important. It's one of the reasons, like, I think we need to talk about true crime is so we can learn to identify those indicators of persons or families or groups of people heading towards crisis or being in crisis when we see it, and we can do something about it, or we can recognize that in ourselves. But if it was true that they were abused in that way and to that degree from the age of 6 for 12 years, I personally could not, just knowing what I feel I understand about the human mind and behavior, I personally could not hold them responsible for taking the life of that abuser. It makes sense to me that at that age, given that trauma and what it does to a person's brain, it literally rewires your brain. This is something that we understand through extensive studies and research and evidence and data. I don't think they can be held responsible. I personally, with just from where I come from, could not hold someone in that position responsible. If it is true that that happened to Erik Menendez, therefore, I cannot hold him responsible. So I could not say that it was cold-blooded murder. My perspective would be that it didn't have to happen for sure. He still could have possibly made other choices, but the primary factor that drove him to that place of crisis that precipitated this whole horrible, tragic event was the abuser. It was the responsibility of the adult, in this case, Jose Menendez, who above all else that happened here had the responsibility to protect the most vulnerable among us, young children, particularly when they are your own children. So that's just my perspective on that. And I just wanted to share that. But I understand what you're saying, but that's just a message that comes across this channel again and again and again in all cases, because that's just one of my messages. I think that I just feel strongly about it.
And have Dad to herself?
Yes.
Now, how important was this idea in your mind that going to college would end the molestation by your father?
How important was it?
Yes, how significant a notion was this?
It was the most important thing in my life. It was everything in my life. It was all I thought about.
Why was it all you thought about?
I don't understand.
All right.
No, Veronica, I don't
Why was it
know.
all I thought
We
about?
talked about that in the very beginning. You weren't here. And hey, Veronica, that was my first question in this live stream. I was like, I've got a true crime trivia for you. The Menendez trial was 3 or 4 years before the O.J. Simpson trial. The O.J. Simpson, was that in 1997? I feel like it was 96 or 97. And the Menendez trial was in 1993. So common misconception that O.J. was first. No, the Menendez trials were first. Da, 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 da. Welcome, sweet empanada.
Yeah.
Because it would end the sex, and that's all I thought about.
How did you feel at 18 about the fact that your father was having sex with you?
I hated it. I hated it.
And what did you think your options were with respect to sex with your father?
Options? I had no options.
Well, let me ask you this. Did you, over the course of the preceding 3 years, ever consider killing yourself?
Yes.
And what was the reason, as far as you understood it, why you thought about killing yourself?
Because it would end the sex. And that's all I wanted.
And had you ever tried to end the sex through confrontation or violence against your father?
Yes.
Yes? You were violent towards your
Oh,
father?
no, not violence. No, but I said no to him once.
You said no once.
Yes.
How old were you when you said no?
I was 17.
And was there a reason that you gave him for saying no?
Not that I gave him.
Was there a reason though?
Yes.
What was the reason?
I couldn't take it anymore. I didn't want it anymore, and I was really in a bad state that day, and he just walked in the room, and I said no.
He walked in the room and there were certain signals and things that he would do, which we'll get to later, about that told you that sex was...
Counsel, let's not lead the witness.
Okay. Were there certain things or signals that he did when he walked into your room that told you that he wanted sex of some kind?
Yes.
And did any of those things happen on that day when you said no?
Yes.
Now, without going into the details of it, on that particular occasion, after you said no, did your father become upset?
Yes.
And did he do anything violent?
Yes.
And would you just tell us, not what happened, but just generically, what violent things did he do?
He threw me on the bed and went to get a knife and put it at my throat.
Put the knife to your throat.
Yes.
And was there sex with your father that day?
Yes.
Was it that fourth kind that you called
Yes.
sex? Now, after you returned in the summer of 1989, in August, from Kalamazoo, did you have two separate talks with your father concerning your future in college?
Yes.
Could you tell us, first of all, about the first such talk? Do you remember how it took place?
Yes.
Well, would you tell us? Where were you with your father for that first talk?
I don't remember what the restaurant's name. I think it started with an H. I was out for breakfast with him.
At a restaurant?
Yes.
And do you recall approximately how many days after you returned from Kalamazoo this took place?
Just a few days. I can't tell you the exact. I can't
You
tell
have to
you.
speak up.
I can't tell you the. I can't tell you the exact day.
You were alone with him?
Yes.
And what did he? What was the conversation about?
It was about what I was going to do in college after college.
It's about what you were going to do in college and
After college.
okay. And what? Who was doing the talking? Were you telling your dad what you were going to do in college?
My father was telling me that after college, he wanted me to take business and economics as my major, and after college, he wanted me to take this, I guess, a special program at UCLA, this business law school program that combined it in a certain amount of years, and then after that, he said that he was going to move to Florida. Right at the end of that, and we were all going to go into business. He was going to go into business with me.
Who's we all?
Lyle, Mom, me, Dad.
Okay. So he was telling you what your future was going to be.
Yes.
Is this the future you had planned for yourself?
No, but I mean, I hadn't really planned a future for myself.
You hadn't decided what kind of work or career you were going to do, had you?
No, I didn't know what I was going to do.
And was your father presenting this to you as an idea that he wanted you to think about, or was this a done thing?
No, this is what I was going to do. And that's why he was talking to me, because I needed to get the grades at UCLA to get into the program. And he was concerned about that. And so he was concerned about that. So he was telling me that I was going to have to really, really, really work hard to get the grades. And therefore, my tennis was going to have to drop.
Okay. And what did he mean by your tennis was going to have to drop?
Just that he wasn't sure whether or not I was going to be playing on the team, and he hadn't decided yet whether or not I was going to be playing tennis at all. I guess it depended on the grades I was getting. My sense was that he hadn't decided, but he wasn't going to let me play tennis anymore.
Okay. Now, the team that he's talking about which team is that?
The UCLA team.
And how good a team did UCLA have?
I think that year they were number 1 in the nation. I'm not quite sure.
A good team.
Yes.
And had you been promised or assured a place on that team?
No.
Were you still supposed to be trying out for it?
Yes.
In fact, Mr. Menendez, were you originally supposed to go somewhere after Kalamazoo, after the Canada trip? Were you slated to go somewhere?
Yes, I was.
Where were you supposed to go after you visited your dying grandfather?
To a tennis camp in Florida.
And what was the purpose of your going to a tennis camp at that point?
To train for the tryouts of the team.
To see if you could be good enough to get on the UCLA team?
Yes.
So what is your father telling you? Is you're not on the team yet, right?
Yeah, he was telling me, well, my father expected me to make the team if I tried out for it. I guess that didn't work into his calculations. I don't know. But he just told me that he hadn't decided whether or not I was going to be playing on the team, that he hadn't decided whether or not I was going to, he wanted me on the team, and that he would let me know before tryouts.
Now, was this a new experience for you? Your father sitting you down and telling you what you were going to do with yourself and your life and your sports and your work and all of that?
No.
Was this very typical?
Yeah, that's what happened.
So, did it, however, bother you?
In some senses, in some ways.
In what way did it bother you?
Well, it bothered me because it was a big challenge for me to get on the team. They didn't have a junior varsity team. They cut that program, so it was just the varsity team. There were only like 13 or 14 players that made it, and so it was a big challenge. And I was really working to get on the team, and I was looking forward to it. But in a sense, it was sort of a relief if the pressure ended. What pressure? The pressure of tennis, of just the. I felt part of me didn't want to play on the team because I didn't want to have the pressure of winning the matches at the tournament. I mean, at the matches that they played.
What was the source of the pressure? Was this in your head? Was this the coach of the tennis team?
No, it was my father.
Your Honor, if we're going to take a morning break, this is.
All right, we'll take a recess. We'll resume at 20 minutes after the hour. Don't discuss the case with anyone. Don't form any final opinions about it. And we'll resume at 20 after.
Mr. Menendez, in addition to telling you what your career was going to be and what you were going to study,
we are going to break on this too, because yeah. So, what happened in court the other day was not well. Here, actually, let me have Mark Garagos tell you, because he's going to do a better job than me paraphrasing the legal decisions, because it is a little legal. So, just one sec here. Mm-hmm. Welcome to those of you I haven't said hello to. I saw Sub Rosa and Crime and Crochet and other bunch of. And now I'm forgetting people. But y'all, I'm so happy you're all here. I see all of you, but right now I'm looking for that video in my history here. Okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Damn, I watch a lot of YouTube, y'all. Holy wows. I gotta keep scrolling down. Whoa, I watch a lot of true crime. I think I might consume as much true crime as anybody in this country. Except for really all of you, too. Y'all know the feeling. Oh my God, holy cow. Because, yeah, I was like doing research on this, and then the Hannah Kobiowski, and then I got sucked into that for 5 hours before the live stream. So this was a long time ago, and about 50 YouTube true crime videos ago. Oh my God. All right. Everyone thought they were going live on Friday, but that never really happened. Let's see. Okay, well, here, we'll just listen to his statement. Once again, I would like to present you with Mark Garagos, attorney at law. Okay, so this is him speaking after the court date just this past Friday, the highly anticipated and awaited court date. Just listen to him, get past all the other crap. Okay. Sorry, lady, I didn't mean to call you crap, but you know.
For those who weren't in the courtroom today, I think you could talk to anybody who was. It was a very, it was first of all, the first time that Lyle and Erik have been at least remotely in a courtroom in a number of years, number one. It also was quite a moving experience, at least from where.
Thank you, Sherry. I'm petting two bunnies right now, so I don't have a free hand to type. So yeah, thank you for sending me your phone number. Yes, I'm going to program my phone. I'll send you mine too. And Ashley, I told you to email me, and I will send you my number if you want to text me or something, because it's just easier for me to communicate that way. If you don't mind sharing your phone number, Ashley, Victoria. Okay.
We said to listen to Aunt Terry and Aunt Joan, who are respectively Jose and Kitty's older sisters. Both made impassioned pleas with the judge to send the brothers home. And like I said, very moving. Terry testified under oath that she was very close to Jose and practically grew up with him. And Joan as well talked about Kitty and all of the good things that they've done.
Well, Sub Rosa, I know you said that before recently, and now we all know you're a big liar, pants on fire to your friends.
Since they've been in there. The judge has now set January 30th and 31st as the days for a plenary or fulsome hearing.
Thank you,
on
Tracy.
The resentencing. He has also invoked what's called AB 600, so he has jurisdiction under that section as well, which is California law. He's going to and has heard and will ask for further briefing. And by January 30th or 31st, we're hoping that by the end of that or sometime sooner, that we will in fact get the brothers released. The family is all here, and including Joan, who's here, who everybody can wish happy birthday to tomorrow.
Happy birthday.
And Terry, who is here.
Yes, where's Terry?
Where's Terry? Terry's in the back. Terry made the trip.
Bring Terry up here,
Bring
please.
Terry up as well. I will tell you that I did not program either one of them, and I don't think either one of them knew they were going to speak, but they spoke, and we did that so they could speak from the heart. And
we're sisters in kind.
Yes, and you can tell them you want them home.
I do want them home. They should never have been in such situations as presented themselves. What can a kid do when his father's? Oh, I can't stand it.
35 years is a long time.
Now that is Kitty's sister.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I'm going to let the family go, I'll answer some questions as long as people don't assault the family on the way out of here, okay? Is that a deal, by the way?
Yes.
Yes? Okay, so let them,
But then the
let the
press went and
family
screwed it
move
up.
out and give them,
Media, please move back.
yeah,
The
please
family
move
can get-
back.
Please move back.
Let them
If
create
you're
a
behind me
walkway,
and touching me and
please.
you're not family, you need to move back, please.
See, they already violated,
Yeah,
right?
no deal, I guess.
No deal. Then I guess no questions if they're gonna run after.
Why are they doing this?
Yeah, no questions. Unless
Dude, good job, media. He was going to answer questions. What's your problem? They're old women, older women. I mean, it's not too much to ask to give them some freaking space. They already just said to you very generously what they had to say. That is so irritating. Watch when this camera guy, or I think he is, I think he's adjusting his mic or something when he kind of touches Mark Garagos and he's like, oh, peace out, dude. I don't know what's up with that. Watch.
yeah, no questions.
Yeah. Yeah.
Unless you stop that, then we're
Listen to
not
what he
doing
said
it.
after he said not to touch him. I think
Then I guess no
I
questions
just-
if they're gonna run,
has nothing to do with the case. I just think it's interesting.
move out as long as people.
Okay, here we go.
I'm gonna let
He's being a gentleman and he's being protective of those older women. I mean, I just think it's so crazy. Come on, people. You're a bunch of savages.
the family go, I'll
YouTubers are way cooler. Oops.
answer some questions as long as people don't assault the family on the way out of here, okay? Is that a deal, by the way?
Yes.
Yes? Okay, so let the family move out and give them,
Media, please move back.
yeah,
The
please
family can
move
get-
back.
Please move back.
Let them
If
create
you're
a
behind me
walkway,
and touching me and
please.
you're not family, you need to move back, please.
Give the ladies a walkway.
See, they already violated,
Yeah, no
right?
deal, I guess.
No deal. Then I guess no questions if they're gonna run after.
Why are they doing this?
Watch him jump. I love it. Why are they doing this?
Yeah.
Ah!
Unless
Oh,
you
boy.
stop that, then we're not doing it.
no bearing on this.
Mark, we asked about the petition that was filed this morning, get rid of the special circumstance.
All right, you are watching live action here. Mark Garagos speaking to the media just for a moment there. And for a quick moment, we heard from Aunt Terry, which was Jose Menendez's sister, and Aunt Joan, Kitty's sister. Both were pleading with the judge to let the brothers go. Their attorney, Mark Garagos, said that he wanted the family to be able to leave without being chased by the media. And if the media would stay present, he would answer questions. But some of the media that was there chased after those women, those family members. And so it appears now that Mark Garagos will not be taking questions. But again, he did say that a judge has set January 30th and 31st. Those are the days for a hearing on the resentencing. And these women that you see right here, Aunt Terry, who is Jose's sister, and Aunt Joan, which was Kitty's sister, they both want their nephews, Lyle and Erik Menendez, to be freed. They say that they have both served enough time, that they should have never been behind bars for 35 years, but that is in fact what has happened. Resentencing again scheduled for January 30th and the 31st. And at that time, a judge could resentence the brothers, and after serving 35 years, they could in fact be released. Initially, when this all started to come forward, the family was hoping that the brothers would be home for Thanksgiving. Now they are saying that they hope that they will be home for Christmas.
Okay, so so that's that. Now, I just do want to say, because I gave that whole kind of diatribe about feeling like, to me, my sense of justice is always that adults in our society need to protect the most vulnerable among us. And this is, this is something that is said, philosophically in the sense of justice and the philosophy of a democratic, civilized society. And I don't remember what the exact quote is, but, when we, stop, caring for the most vulnerable among us, the children, the sick, the elderly, that's what separates a civilized society from being, fucking barbarians like these media people. I'm just kidding. They're not like that bad. But you guys are really funny. Honey Bun, that was really funny. And look at them in their natural habitat in your Australian sea burrow next. And it was funny. And I just really believe that needs to be a pillar of our society, of humanity, and certainly of our justice system. With that being said, yes, I mean, these two boys, even though, I explained, the trauma, the trauma brain, the rewiring of the trauma brain. And again, this is all scientific, evidence-based data. Lots of, how much I love my pie charts, lots of pie charts out there that support this. It's something, it's just, it's known now. How that this kind of trauma, since if it is true, starting at 6 years old in this way through your entire childhood and teen years is going to critically impact the way that your brain works. And again, I do believe at the age of 18 and 20, if that did happen and all of that was true, they would not have the ability to reason, be rational, logical, or know right from wrong in a lot of regards. And, I do feel that is a fact, not just my opinion. However, the fact of the matter is, sadly, that trauma and abuse and these horrible kinds of abuse and pain and suffering and, horrible, awful, unthinkable, unspeakable things happen to human beings, okay? So we have to have a way to deal with that in our society. It doesn't mean because those things happen that you get a pass or a window or a loophole into getting a free pass for committing some horrible, god-awful, unthinkable, violent crime yourself. We cannot allow that. Absolutely not. And that is, the, tenuous part of our justice system, but also us, coexisting as human beings who are just like, there's just so much fucked up in this, I'm just like, how I see it. And there's also so much beauty, but it's complicated stuff, obviously. With all of that being said, I do believe that they needed to be certainly charged and rightfully convicted with a crime and do their time. It's not like I think, they should have gotten off scot-free, not have gone to prison, not been charged, not been convicted or anything like that. But I think at this point, my personal opinion, and who am I to determine the sentences arbitrarily of two people across the country I don't even know, but it is my opinion that they've served more time than they deserved, and they certainly should be allowed to live their lives in a different way now. As free people in civilized society, I do not believe they are a threat to society. I do believe that they have paid their debt to society. I do believe that they have, that they've paid their dues. The penalty has been served. And I do believe, because apparently both of them have been going through intense therapy, have, psychologists, throughout the time that they've been in prison, I do believe if they needed to be rehabilitated, and they needed to be both rehabilitated, but I believe, in my opinion, more so, they needed to be made therapeutically whole. But to the degree that they needed rehabilitation, I think that was always possible for them. And I do believe that rehabilitation has probably been complete for quite some time now. So I do hope that we do see them released from prison in the near future. I know some of you do not agree, and that's totally okay. That is why I'm giving you so much detail as to exactly why I think what I think, because there you go. And I am super open to hearing exactly what y'all think, if you think differently, or if you think the same, or probably somewhere in between, because we're not clones, y'all. Now, let's take a look at the poll. I just have to open up my YouTube with this stream on it so I can see it. Strangely enough, I cannot see it in StreamYard. StreamYard and YouTube are very strange bedfellas, as they say. And see how y'all answer the question. Thank you for reminding me, Chick Tracy, because I would have forgotten. And WV Mountain, thank you for suggesting that. It was a good idea. I couldn't think of the last word for a minute. That's why I said, which you probably got. All right, let's see. And thank y'all for being here. Moderators, you're amazing as always. Subscribers and members. Y'all, you trolls, I see you. Whoops. You trolls, you don't think I can see you, but I can see you. If you're a YouTube creator and you're a troll and you don't think I can see you, you're just stupid. If you're not a YouTube creator and you're a troll, I can see you in ways I've been able to, and I know exactly who you are. So, hi guys. All right. So the question was, let's see. All right. Do you find Erik Menendez's testimony to be believable regarding the abuse? And to that question, do you find his testimony to be believable as it pertains to what he's telling about the abuse? 84% of you said yes, much to kind Colorado's dismay. But 16% of you, so that's more than just kind Colorado, said no, or actually maybe it's not, because we only had 45 votes. Y'all get in there and vote now. There's a poll up. Go vote. Jeez, can't y'all do anything right? I'm just kidding, guys. But so far there's 45 votes, and I would like to see more. If you haven't voted, please go vote. And also hit the like while you're at it. If you haven't yet, please. Oops. Sorry. And yeah. So of those votes, 84% of you say you believe Erik Menendez's testimony regarding the abuse, and 84% of you say you believe it. 16% of you say you don't at this time, but it is a very small sample size. Oh, thank you. Someone else voted. There's another yes, you believe it. So yeah. Oh man. Yikes. So, hey, during the last watch stream just a few days ago, I asked you guys what other cases you wanted to talk about, and you said Hannah and Menendez. And looky here, I come through for my peeps, y'all. Love you back. Love you too. It's cool. Glad we could discuss these cases. And there will be more discussion on both these cases and more. I'm hoping Ellen Greenberg is next. Yeah, please do reach out, Ashley. Oops. Oh, that's awesome. Yes. Yeah, guilty of crimes, part of the family. We love each other. So let's see. Cough off. I saw your. So I'm reading this comment, but then I'm going to ask you in regards to what. This is interesting. My therapist turned me onto a book that helped me tremendously. It's called Miss America by Day. So is that in regards to like trauma, working through trauma? And thank you. Okay. You're talking to Shar, I think. Okay, gotcha. Let's see. Yeah, I know. Why would somebody marry a prisoner, guys? I know. It's so weird. Corey Richins. Yeah, maybe. I think I'll cover Corey Richins when the trial happens. I feel like I've said everything about her that case that I can say right now with Kathleen Hootson coming on and just that. But when the trial happens, for sure. I'm gonna be honest, Corey's kind of boring me right now. but I'm sure it'll be a great trial. And, you know, either way, whether she's guilty or not, we certainly need to see through justice for Erik Richins. I can't believe Casey Anthony is free either. It's one of the two cases. Oh no, now there's three, because I cried the very first case. I cried when I heard the verdict. I just told you about it when I was in junior and senior in high school. Was O.J. Simpson, and then Casey Anthony, and then one recent case that we're not going to talk about right now. Just if you know, you know. What the hell is this, honey bun? I really want to start a linger. What does that say? Finger chant in the live, meaning the chat goes crazy when the same word or what? I don't know what some things mean. I'm not as smart as I lead you all to want to, or I don't know how you can phrase that. See, it gets late and I get real dumb. What the heck is that? Oh, is that a real mustache? Oh, wait, hold it. The detective in the very beginning, or right before Erik Menendez testifies, that when my son walked in the room, I was like, and that is what 1993 looks like, my friend. You just got to see. Oh my God, his stash. And wow, this guy is like freaking amazing. Wait, we got to check him out. He was a lead detective on the case, and he made some mistakes, that's for sure. But I mean, a lot of them do. I can't imagine having to be in charge of a crime scene like that, horrible, gruesome crime scene like that. I could not. So, I mean, I'm not trying to stand in judgment. I'm just saying. But I am judging his mustache, and you will too. Trust me.
Does that particular photograph show the location of the IBM
Wait, can we get a
PC
close-up?
computer that was in that room?
Yes, it does.
And does that photograph show that the computer and its stand is to the right of the entry doors to the bedroom?
Yes,
And it is up against a wall, is it not?
that's correct.
I have that. Now, I've placed a series, may I stay, Your Honor, just to go through these photographs?
Yes.
I've placed a series of photographs in front of you that have been marked
Oh, honey bun. Okay, gotcha.
with new numbers 257.
I got ya. I gotcha.
Let me ask
I'm a
you
little
about
thick
them one
sometimes.
at a time. Showing you 257. Do you recognize what room of the residence that photograph was taken in?
Yes, I do.
And what room was it?
This is Erik's room. And it was a room upstairs on the south side of the residence toward the front. There was a guest bedroom further west than this at the front of the house.
Okay. So it's not right on the front. Its windows don't open to the front of the house.
That's correct.
Do you know what its windows open to?
To the south side of the house.
And do you know if those windows overlook the pool area, the tennis court area, and provide a view of the guest house?
It does not, no.
Does not provide a view of those things.
No.
Oh my God. Ned
Now, the
Flanders.
items and objects that are in this.
How did you come up with that? Oh my God. He must be the personification of the muse upon which Ned Flanders was inspired. That is such a good call, Crime and Crochet. Oh my God. Look, it is Ned Flanders in the freaking flesh. He never thought I'd see it.
This particular photograph.
The Simpsons.
To the best of your understanding, were they in that condition when your photographer arrived to photograph them?
Yes.
Is it proper police procedure to not move items around at a crime scene?
Yes, it is.
And was the entire house, under your guidance, treated as a crime scene
Yes,
so that nothing should have been moved in any room?
that's correct.
And would the same be true of putting things in rooms that were not there when the police arrived?
That is also correct.
No one should be doing that.
No.
And do you have any reason whatsoever to believe that anyone working on this investigation on the 21st of August, 1989, put anything in any of these rooms that was not already there?
To my knowledge, nobody had done that.
Showing you the next photograph, which I previously marked 258. Is that another view of Erik's bedroom?
Yes, it is.
In your opinion, does it appear messy?
Yes.
When you observed it the morning of August 21st, were you struck with its messiness?
Yes.
Were there various writings like papers, magazines, books strewn about the room?
Yes, there were.
Did you note any particular writing in any police report or inventory or property report?
No.
Did you collect
Okay,
any
guys.
items from?
I'm sorry, no bunnies tonight. I'm so sorry. Next live stream, I promise. I don't know where my camera is, and like I have to feed the bunnies. They're going a little crazy now, and they're like running around. Next time, I promise. I'll try to make it a more regular thing. I know we love the bunnies; they're therapeutic. So, all right, guys. Yeah. Oh, so sorry, honey bun. We don't want to crush your dreams. We can do your finger chant or whatever. Oh yeah. So yeah. Oh well. Yeah. And cuff you. I just read your comment and I said I'm sorry what you had to live through, and I really admire what you're doing. And now that's so amazing that you do that now. And then Jen said to you that I love to have people come up on lives on panel. And I do have to go now because I am super freaking exhausted. It's been a very, 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 very long day. I've been up since I don't even know, like 5 something. And I have to do some bunch of stuff tomorrow to get ready for Thanksgiving. But cuff you, if I'd love for you to come up sometime, or I could have you even as a featured guest if you wanted to say something more than just like really quick. If you want to do either and plan something, you can email me at whatsobsession@gmail.com. Or if you'd rather just come up sometime, like when you're in chat, that's okay too. But if you would like to come up on panel to like a more featured degree, I think that would be amazing. So I'm sure you have a lot of valuable things to share and to say and to, all that. My brain gets a little soggy when it gets so late. I'd have better words for you, cuff you, if it were a little earlier. So, but yeah, please email me if you'd like. So, yeah. All right, guys, I do have to go. So, what is today? It is Tuesday. Tomorrow is Thanksgiving Eve. Well, I guess here in the United States, would I say? Well, it's pilgrims. It's a U.S. It's an American thing. Okay, woo! I had to think that through. But regardless of whether you're celebrating Thanksgiving or not, on Thursday, I hope that you this week are thinking about what you're thankful for and that you have abundant things to be thankful for. Well, you do, but I hope that you realize that you do. You know what I mean? Even in our worst times, we do have those things. We do, guys. We do. I know it's sometimes hard for all of us to see, but I want that for you. And if you are celebrating Thanksgiving, I hope you have a wonderful one. Does anyone want like a short little Thanksgiving live? Does anyone feel like they're not going to be like connecting with people in a meaningful way in Thanksgiving? It would be helpful for you to have like a community here. If you don't want to say anything like that, like right now, you don't need to. But I was thinking about doing that. But if you did want to email me and request that, you certainly can do that at whatsobsession@gmail.com. And I will be checking my email because I'm going to be looking for Ashley's email and I have to get Sherry's number. And also, because I just put that out there. So, yeah. Okay. Yeah. All right. Cool. So here's like my thing on Thanksgiving. I have to be at my mom's house at 1. She wants me to be there by 1 because you guys would never believe this, but I'm always late, not only to live streams, but to my mom's house too. Because she's like a freaking holiday. She's like Norman Rockwell embodied. So, but she's got some back problems and this and that. So I have to help her with a lot of stuff. because she insists on having a perfect, amazing, fabulous holiday dinner every time, and she comes through. So to be there by 1, and then usually by, I don't want to do it too late because I don't want to keep people. Well, maybe I would. It would probably be around 8, or 9, like the usual time. I was thinking of doing more during the day, but I guess I really can't. Sorry, I'm just thinking things through out loud. Because my stepsister and nieces are only going to be there for a short time. And yeah, so from like 1 to 7, I am fully booked with family things. So it will be after that, but let's do it. Okay. I don't know if it'll be a topic or anything, or if we'll just do it because it's Thanksgiving, but I will do that. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Why, thank you. You're so wonderful too, M. Clar. Bunny, next time. I just don't even know where my camera is, and the camera on this computer just doesn't really work well. You won't be able to see that great. So I did the poll, Jen. I did the poll. You want me to look at it again? The poll is, now a few more people have voted, but the result is basically still the same. So thank you guys for adding your vote. I appreciate it. And do make sure you click that like too if you don't mind. You can even share a link if you want. It's really helpful. So now we have 55. 2 more people just voted. Look at you guys go. 55 people voted, and 80. To the question, do you find Erik Menendez's testimony to be believable regarding the abuse? And to that question, 84% of you said yes, you find him believable. 16 said no. The percent remains the same. And now someone else voted. Thanks. So that's where we're at. So yeah, you too, Anaphylaxis. Thanks for everything. All right. You know how hard it is for me to say goodbye. So yeah, Kelly late. Never. That's what I try to tell my mom. All right, guys. So I will be doing a Thanksgiving night live. So be here. Be here. Be thankful for our community. I'm thankful for you guys. So remember, life is hard. So be kind to each other and be good to yourself, especially because I know you deserve it, and you do deserve it. You do. So hopefully I will see you guys Thursday night. And if not, hopefully I'll see you the next time. And if not, then I'm just kidding. But yeah, I'd love for you, if you are around on Thanksgiving evening, you're not doing anything, and you're not in a turkey comatose, please join us. All right, guys, talk to you soon.